Good afternoon, and welcome to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board. Today is Thursday, October 19th, 2023. If we could stand for the flag, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, and welcome everybody to our new Town Hall meeting room. I'm very excited, and I know the whole board is excited to be here with you guys today. So we do not have any public hearings today, so we'll go right on to our discussion items. And the first item is 48 Cromer Avenue LLC amended site plan with Heather Trojanowski.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, the mics are great. For the record, Heather Trojanowski, planner for the town of Riverhead. Do we have representatives for the application here? The mics are good. Just state your name for the...
Hi, Martin Sunluski, architect, 215 Roanoke Avenue, Riverhead.
Good afternoon, Robert Merrihew, attorney for the applicant, 250 North Sea Road, Southampton.
Ray Dickoff, I'm the builder for the applicant.
Good afternoon.
Okay. So the planning department has received and reviewed an amended site plan application for 48 Cromer LLC to add two 30,000-gallon LP tanks, liquid propane, culminating in 8 tanks total to a proposed propane distribution facility with a 38,472 square foot industrial building located on a 4.045 acre site within the Industrial A zoning use district, more particularly identified as Suffolk County Tax Net Number 600-119-1-32.1. And just a little bit of background, I know Ed and Joe are probably already familiar with this application. Joanne, I'm not sure if you were on the board when the site plan was approved. So the project did receive a special permit by the town board, resolution number 2020-477 dated September 15th of 2020. They were granted a propane facility with 9 30,000 gallon tanks and the industrial building with office space. They came to the planning board for site plan, and they were granted final site plan approval by planning board resolution number 2022-052 dated June 2nd of 2022 with numerous conditions for the construction of a 180,000 gallon LP facility. So that ended up with 6 30,000 gallon tanks and then the industrial building and office space. They do have a current building permit. They satisfied the conditions of the original final site plan approval. The Mylars were signed. Go ahead, Joe.
The date that you have for the building permit, I think, is incorrect.
Oh, that might be, was it, I think it might have been recently renewed. Or no, it should, maybe it's 2022.
Yeah.
I can double
It's
check
after
that.
you wrote the memo.
It probably was on a Scrivener's error, and I'll fix it, so I will double check on that. But they do have a valid building permit, and the facility is currently under construction at this point in time. They're coming back to the planning board for 2 additional tanks for a total of 8. The industrial building itself, nothing else is changing. They are adding 1 additional light fixture, and then they're reducing the size of the empty portable tank storage area that's behind the LP tanks on the site plan. So I included some pictures of the site, during construction. It does look like the 2 concrete pads for the additional tanks that they're proposing are already on site. I did send this out to the fire marshal, the fire district, the town engineer. The town engineer had no comments on the site plan amendments. The fire marshal did come back with some comments, which I believe I forwarded to you. And then I just recently received some comments from the Riverhead Fire District and their council, which I also forwarded to everyone and the applicant. So at this point, as far as SECRA is concerned, is that what I sound like? As far as SECRA is concerned, everything in the amendment is consistent with the negative declaration that was issued through the special permit application review. So at this point, we can move forward with a public hearing for the amendment and gain any additional comments. If the board has any questions, we have plenty of people here to answer them. So I'll hand it off to the applicants if they want to add anything.
think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah. So did the board have any questions?
Can we discuss the letters that we received from the fire marshal and the fire district?
Sure. So this was reviewed by Andrew Smith, one of the fire marshals in the fire marshal's office, and he had 3 comments. Comment number 2, I think perhaps might have been, the application states that Railspur access is a phase of development, but that's not shown on the site plan, so I'm not sure if that was just an error on the amended site plan application part, but one of the requirements that was actually covenanted with the special permit was that if they wanted to pursue Railspur access, an additional special permit would be needed. So if that's not the case, I just ask that the applicant, update the actual paperwork to match what's on the proposed site plan. I believe that would satisfy comment number 2. I'm not sure if the applicant or their design professionals have contacted the fire marshal's office or satisfied items 1 or 3 on the memo.
Actually, we haven't contacted them, but we do have the information with
Okay.
regard to that.
Okay.
On the, at the public hearing, the firm that's doing the deluge protection system will be there. And actually with the, just as a quick footnote, with the water supply, when you have 2 groups of 8 tanks, the water is actually better distributed than if you have 1 group of 6 tanks. So actually increasing the amount of tanks, the coverage for both tanks is actually better, or both areas is actually better. So that's not an issue, and all those calculations will be provided prior to
Where do you
receipt.
get the water from? Where would you get the water from?
It's a public water then.
It
yeah.
would be the water
Yeah,
system?
absolutely. And as far as the item 3, that actually, when we got the original approval, I don't believe Mr. Smith was with the fire prevention office at that time.
Not sure.
And we have already gone through that issue and the mitigation. Early on, if you read the text of that section of NFPA, it refers to a dialogue with the fire department with regard to emergency response and emergency service. If you recall, in the original permit, we had the tanks positioned a different way on the site, and as part of the review with the fire department with regard to that specific request,
Yeah, they were turned.
the site was turned and the tanks were mitigated in response to that. So that's already been mitigated at the previous approval stage.
And then as far as the correspondence from the fire district, I did forward this over to Marty. Just the administrative stuff as far as the short EAF, there were a couple of discrepancies that do need to be fixed. I will note, however, as far as the numbers that they reference, those were actually taken care of. New York State DEC and New York State Historic Preservation, under the special permit review, they covered all of that review, and those were satisfied. So as far as just keeping up with the records, just making those corrections would be fine, but no further review or referrals need to be done in that respect. I expect that the fire district will probably attend the public hearing and sort of go over the other items that they had outlined in their
I hope you can
memo.
try to get them there. Okay?
Yeah, I wasn't a part of the special permit review on the initial submission, nor was I a part of the, site plan review for the initial proposal. So going back, it does seem it was a little disjointed, or not everyone got to speak at the public hearings. So I think it's just important, even though the special permit did allow for 9 tanks, the final site plan approval that was granted by the planning board approved 6, and we're adding 2. So I just want to make sure that all of our bases were covered. Safety is the biggest concern here, and that everyone is satisfied, while not, not stopping the business from opening.
I would
obviously.
also like to add that the original fire prevention plan that's required by NFPA to be prepared as part of this application, members that were on the board would recall this, the original application and that fire plan study was all based on the 8 tanks submission, and was actually approved by the fire marshal also for the 8 tanks. So basically we're back now just asking for 2 additional tanks that weren't approved at the previous meeting.
Yeah, Ed, I don't know if you remember when this was initially up for a vote, I believe the preliminary approval was for 8 tanks, but the board, I'm not sure if it was tabled or if the resolution just wasn't approved, but subsequently the applicant voluntarily reduced down to 6 tanks. So just for the record, now they're coming back to amend the site plan for 8. Again, the building permit has already been issued, but no CO has been issued yet, so they are able to come in for an amended site plan application.
We'll have a public hearing and see what the public has to say.
I just have a question. Do you have, how is the deluge system activated? Is it heat activated? Is it manually turned on?
No, it's heat activated.
It's heat activated.
It's
So-
not manual. It can be manual. There's a manual pull for it also, but it's monitored and it would go off with heat.
So if for some reason that didn't happen, is there like a watchman or anybody there that can manually activate it in
Yes.
case it fails?
Yes.
So there's somebody on site 24/7?
Yeah,
Okay.
the plant would operate 24 hours a day.
And can it be augmented by the fire department? Can
Yes,
they
it
augment
can.
the system?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
All right, so if there are no other questions, we will be back here for a public hearing on November 2nd.
November 2nd. Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you. All right, next up, we have Lepore Residence, Bungalow E8. Is that with you, Heather? Yep. Okay.
So this is just a quick, very quick discussion, a recap. If the board recalls, we discussed this application, I believe it was back in June. Yes, so June 15th, 2023, the planning board did approve a resolution 2023-049 for this application to classify it as unlisted and issue a negative declaration. Just an overview of the project, the owner of Bungalow E8 is looking to relocate their existing dwelling away from the CHA line. Unfortunately, because the CHA line sort of bisects their property, they needed a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And at their meeting, at their meeting on September 14th of 2023, the Zoning Board of Appeals did grant the requested relief by appeal number 2023-040. So they have completed that process, and now it's just coming back to the planning board for their approval so they can submit their building permit documents and go through the construction review. So I have a resolution on just to approve the Chapter 219 application since they did go to the zoning board and get the appropriate relief.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to Peconic Crossing, sliding gate and fencing with Matt Charters.
Very brief today. If the board's familiar, this has to do with the multifamily housing. I think it is, sorry, what's the address? 11 West Main Street, so next to the old Chase Bank. Unfortunately, there's a unhoused population that's sort of surrounding the building, so they're looking to just beef up their site security a little bit. So if you see in my staff report on the second page, they're looking to do, I redlined the aerial. They're going to be doing a state-style aluminum fencing and then a sliding gate basically around their parking area that's under the building. That's really it. It's been to the fire marshal. They're just asking for a Knox box and keypad. Other than that, we're really good to go. Clean up the site a little bit, should be good.
Absolutely.
Where exactly are they putting the fence?
So if you, Joe, if you look at that picture, there's a red line on the second page. It follows the bottom of the building around the rear parking area. It's going to go up on the wall. It's in a couple different places, and there's a sliding gate in the
there's
back.
several.
On the south side, yeah. And there's a small plan in there. I do have a larger plan if you want to look at it. I can walk up to you.
Why don't you put it on the table?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Could be the first one. I don't know if it'll show up.
For those that don't know, we have new technology in this meeting room, and there's a camera that is supposed to be able to show everyone what Matt just put on the table.
I think Justin's working on it.
Except the TV's not on.
We need a 16-year-old
there
to
we
figure
go.
it out.
There we go. Yeah, it's a little far out, but if you follow my finger here, so there's going to be a 6-foot fence here along this side, fencing in the back, The sliding gate is going right here. Fencing is going to go around the dumpster enclosure, and then there's a wall that goes around the parking area here, and it's going to go there as well.
They want extra security, that's why.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in and out that maybe aren't supposed to be here, so let it operate a little better. Okay, and I do have a resolution to approve that on today.
Perfect.
Cool.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to Carson Woods major subdivision with Greg Bergman. Hi, how are you?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. For the record, Greg Bergman, Senior Planner with the Riverhead Planning Department. So what we have before the board today is a major subdivision application which is seeking approval to subdivide an approximately 20-acre parcel of land which is located in Jamesport. The property is located on the northern terminus of Zamaki Lane, which is a town right-of-way, as well as the eastern terminus of Fox Lane. The property is identified as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-69-1-11. The property is located within the Agricultural Protection Zoning Use District. It is also located within the Riverhead Water District, extension 32J in Jamesport. The property shares its eastern and northern property boundaries with a 57.5-acre parcel of land which has had development rights sold to Suffolk County. It shares a portion of its western property boundary with a 20-acre Town of Riverhead flood control parcel, an approximately 10-acre farm parcel, and several single-family residential properties which are located on Fox Lane. For the board's reference, Fox Lane was created as part of the Manor Lane Estates major subdivision, which was approved by the Planning Board in 1990. The property is generally flat, has an elevation from between 27 feet above sea level to 30 feet, with the exception of the northwest corner of the property, which slopes down to a depression with an elevation of about 20 feet above sea level. The applicant did submit 3 different sketch plans, we'll call them. One of them is, for all intents and purposes, would serve as the as-of-right yield map. I believe that is sketch plan number 1. That plan demonstrates all of the required criteria that's enumerated in Town Code Section 301-285 for standard yield requirements, with the exception of the areas to be reserved for park and playgrounds. I did refer the plans to the Riverhead Parks and Recreation Department, and the Riverhead Superintendent stated that based on the information sent coupled with the Jamesport area recreation cited, he would recommend the fee in lieu of parkland. So that's why the plan does not show the required parkland, and that's traditionally been a standard comment from the Park and Recs District. They'd rather have the fee in lieu of parkland rather than have a bunch of little pocket parks throughout town. So just for clarity purposes, although it's identified as subdivision sketch plan 1, I would recommend that a revision be submitted to call that an as-of-right yield map. I did refer these plans to the town's consulting engineer. He's been sick, he's been out a little while, so he's a little behind, so I am expecting comments back from him on these plans very soon. Regarding cluster development, clustering is required. It's mandatory within the APZ zoning use district. So the 2 sketch plans that show the cluster development are identified as sketch plans 2 and 3. Now, regarding clustering, the planning board, town code states that the planning board shall consider a number of factors when designing the cluster subdivision, including the location and extent of prime agricultural soils, the location of wooded areas, location and extent of natural features, general topography and the location and extent of sloped areas, spatial relationship of the property to contiguous or neighboring preserved agricultural land, and the general stormwater tributary and the extent and direction of overland drainage. So this property is somewhat unique. The town code says that the goal of clustering is to ensure that, quote, a minimum of 70% of class 1 or 2 prime agricultural soils are preserved through the creation of farm lots and the recording of agricultural easements. This property does contain prime agricultural soils, but it is not actively farmed and it is wooded. Now, regarding that 70%, town code does permit the board to approve a cluster plat that preserves less than 70%. The minimum preservation is 50. However, it does require the board to make findings to support such a determination.
So just getting into the sketch plans number 2 and 3. Sketch plan number 2 provides an extension north from Zemacki Lane from its existing terminus, including a 55-foot wide right-of-way, stormwater recharge basin, and approximately 9.64 acres to be preserved. Sketch plan 2 in its current state would be unacceptable for consideration as it only preserves 48.3% of the property, which doesn't meet the minimum 50% requirement. Sketch plan 3 provides an extension of Fox Lane from its eastern terminus, includes the 55-foot wide right-of-way, stormwater recharge basin, and 2 open space areas, one being about 11 acres, the other being just shy of an acre. Similar to sketch plan 2, plan 3 fails to meet the minimum 70% goal preservation of the tract. This plan is sitting at about 60% preservation. Just regarding sketch plan 3, I did note that the open space areas are fragmented. You do have a large portion, the 11 acres to be preserved is on the north end, and then there is the area that's just shy of an acre is sort of within the neighborhood next to the residential development. I think the applicant could provide some clarification as to why the areas are fragmented like that.
You also have to look at the 60 to 70%.
Correct. Well, yes, that is correct. But just the general, regarding the preferred cluster between, notwithstanding the fact that neither plan meets the goal of the 70%, the general design of sketch plan 3 would be the preferred plan. We have met with the applicant and spoken with them at a pre-submission meeting. Thought process behind that is that sketch plan 2 would have the traffic coming off of Zemacki Lane, which at that point on Main Road, it has a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's a little more wide open. Sketch plan 3 would take traffic from Fox Lane onto Manor Lane. At that point, it has a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, so traffic's calmed down a little bit. So rather than have an additional influx of traffic at the 45-mile-an-hour zone, it makes more sense to have it come off of Fox Lane. Regarding the Workforce Housing Act, when the board gets to a point where they approve a yield map, which it does appear that the sketch plan 1 would serve as the as of right, that shows 9 lots. The cluster maps show 8 lots, so they would not be subject to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act as they have voluntarily reduced the yield. When we get to the point where the board selects its preferred sketch plan, those plans would then be referred to the water district so that we know where the water infrastructure is going to be coming from, whether it's Zemacki or Fox Lane. And as I stated, I did refer the plans to Vinny, and I'm expecting comments back soon. So matters before the board now would be, again, the 70%, 50%, the goal to preserve it. Obviously, open space, trees, wooded areas do serve a purpose. The location and extent of wooded areas is one of the criteria for the board to consider. So I would recommend that the 70% be accomplished in a contiguous parcel. That area could be preserved. I would recommend it be preserved in its natural state. It could be used for passive recreation, just for hiking trails, neighborhood kids.
Who would be the owner of that?
So that is something that needs to be more clearly defined in the plans. If it is not going to be dedicated either to the town or a land preservation agency, a not-for-profit, they would need to establish an HOA, and the board would be responsible for dictating the conditions under which that property could be used. So that is something that needs to be.
You said there was adjacent parcel that was county property?
Yeah, so the property to the east is about 57.5 acres, and it's preserved farmland in the county, Suffolk County home.
Attached to that?
It would be contiguous. It wouldn't be attached, but it would be contiguous to that.
All right, I did go over the site, the sketch plans, and I do agree that it would be better for the traffic to be on Manor Road as opposed to Zemacki Lane. I know that Zemacki Lane is a right-of-way. I'm familiar with the road. It's not meant to have constant traffic going, in and out of the neighborhood. And the visibility there with the turn in the road and the 45-mile-an-hour speed zone as opposed to 35 miles an hour, I really would not like to see anything happen with Zemacki Lane.
Quick question on the eastern and western boundaries. What is the natural buffer between the property line?
You mean a required buffer or existing buffer?
No, what will be required?
So there is no required buffer between essentially residential properties and agricultural properties. There are required buffers when you get to commercial development abutting residential properties, but there would be, the code does not require a buffer between the residential and agricultural parcels.
Right. I'd almost like to see more of the land that's being preserved on the northern property shrunk down and use it on the borders of the eastern and western property lines. It'll border the few homes there are there, and when you're going down the main road, it's going to be an open vista of farmland and then trees instead of backyards and white PVC fences and all that. Just a thought.
That's a good point.
Is the rest of the board in agreement with that?
Yes.
All right. All right, so I mean, so that's some guidance for the applicant to address.
The 20-acre flood zone, where exactly is that?
So the town's parcel
Yeah.
it's on the western property boundary.
Right.
It's the lot identified land, and now we're formally of Town of Riverhead, so it's generally on the
Yeah, well, I don't
northwestern,
have that. I
pro-
don't have that. Yeah.
the northwestern property boundary.
You do.
Because there's, yes, I do. Because there's several, I guess, property lines that are depicted on the west side.
You know what, let's see if we can go to see eye in the sky.
Yeah.
Can we go to the overhead camera?
Yeah, it's up.
Oh, all right, sorry about that. All right, so the town's flood control parcel is this property right here. This is a farm parcel, and then you have two residential properties over here.
The first two properties.
Right here.
These two are residential properties.
Right.
This is an agricultural parcel,
Right.
and this is the town's flood control parcel.
Okay. Just wasn't aware. And is that for drainage purposes?
I'm not sure if it's an active drainage parcel. I know that was, I know the town took sand out of there for roadway construction purposes, but it's just listed as flood control on our tax rolls. So regarding here, sketch plan 3. So Ed, I think what you're speaking of is on the eastern property boundary, keep a wooded buffer here.
That's correct.
So that way it'll screen the view. And you know what, it would protect the residents from potential noise, dust, provide some type of mitigation, so.
Are you talking about extending the open space? That would qualify or count towards the open space, that
Yeah.
area?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, and that could be a way to get closer to the 70. Again, the proposed lots are about 32 to 33,000 square feet. So adding that as a buffer, they'd probably go down to 26, 27, you know, they'd still be nice sized lots. Sketch map could be amended.
Just on the east side you're talking about, or you want?
Definitely on the east side. The west side, I'm not that familiar with. Anybody familiar with that, Joanne?
I am. That's farmland over there.
It is. How about where those three homes are?
So there are, I mean, these are two residential properties. This is a farm property, and this is the town's drainage parcel. So I mean, the western property boundary wouldn't be visible from any, you know, main road vantage point. So as you're driving by, you would not really see that. But I agree, that's an excellent point to preserve some woods
On
there.
the east side?
Yeah, on the east side. And I think depending on what that is, I mean, again, if it picks up an extra 5%, it gets you to 65%. It's approaching the goal while still, you know, maintaining the applicant's, you know, intent for the property. So that might be a good solution.
I
Well-
prefer it.
I mean, as to the 70%, obviously because it was, it's entirely wooded, and it seemed to me that the intent of the 70% was obviously to preserve farming and not, you know, here I think we tried to get as close as we could and stay below max yield, and so we were going to make the pitch to the planning board to say, because it is wooded, it's not really, I mean, we're substantially achieving the goal, but
Was that
it's
an
not
old
as if,
apple orchard back there?
next door is the
Next
apple
door?
orchard. Yeah, it says Woodside.
Yeah, I mean, going back on historical aerials, it looked like it was wooded as far back as Suffolk GIS goes, which I think is to the early 60s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, the goal of 70, like I said, this property is unique in that the APZ says the goal is to preserve prime agricultural soils, but it also does ask the board to consider wooded areas and the extent of natural features. I mean, an 11 or 12 acres of, wooded land is, I would consider a significant natural feature. I mean, trees do serve a purpose, open space does serve a purpose. If it helps protect the vista from Main Road across that 57.5 acre farm field, I mean, again, it's not, the applicant's not gonna lose any lots. They can still provide the 8 lots, they can provide the recharge. The lots, like I said, would probably go down, if they went down to 27,000, 26, I mean, that's still a nice sized lot. You could put a nice sized house on that. So, I mean, I think that would really respect both the applicant's goals and the town's goals in terms of preservation.
Is there something they can do to keep, you have 2 segregated areas there?
Well, so if, I mean, you can see here, I sort of sketched it out. I mean, if we do, let's say, provide like a 40 or a 50-foot buffer, whatever that may be, it would be contiguous with the rest of the open space. It would sort of wrap around, so.
It's just that the open space is not contiguous.
No, as proposed, but if, as I'm sort of getting the board's intent, if the board's amenable, if this was preserved as open space, this area, it would form one contiguous parcel.
It doesn't have to. It could be on each individual lot also.
It could be on each individual lot. I mean, again, we sort of ran into that question with the Villas of Roanoke or Seacrest Estates, where when you put open space or natural buffers on private property, very often people encroach into that land. So.
True.
I just have a question. Isn't Manor Lane where there was one restaurant up there where the guy wants to build out and make it like catering?
It's further north of there, probably a mile.
It's that far away?
Pretty far.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because I was going to recommend put as much land between that and development, because down the road, you just might be looking at a noise problem if what he wants to do comes through. Okay.
It's not going through.
What about improving the yield? Do we need to do that?
So I'm waiting for Vinnie's comments. He seems amenable, so I'll probably have it at the next meeting. Again, I do expect Vinnie's comments in very short order. He's just been a little bit behind. So I would expect Vinnie's comments, where at the next meeting, I would expect to be able to approve the as-of-right yield. And then I think the board's been pretty clear on its desired modifications too. So I mean, general consensus, just to sort of get the board, sketch 3 is the preferred plan coming off of Fox Lane onto Manor.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think we can kind of work on that, and then I think just providing, I mean, it's about 200 feet. I mean, I would say a 50-foot buffer would still preserve, a good amount of those trees on the east side, preserve the vista along the farm field, and still end up with some nice-sized lots in that neighborhood.
Very good. All right, so why don't we stop the discussion until we can go the next time and have more information.
Yeah, I mean, that was the purpose here. So, I mean, is there any questions?
So am I hearing that the board is not willing to entertain any pitch for less than 70% preservation on this property?
I would like to see as close to 70 as we can possibly get.
Okay. Fair enough. We will work on that.
Does the board agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, again, I think if we pick up 50, like that's about 1,000. You could you'll probably get pretty close to the 70 by providing a 50-foot buffer along that eastern property. So again, if it ends up 65, 67, that's pretty close. Again, what's that?
See what it turns out to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Eric. Thank you.
All right, next we have Duffy MX Motocross Track with Greg again. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. A fresh set that's not marked up.
I wrote on this one.
Did you?
It's all right. I'm making some notes.
Names for the record?
Oh, Daniel Duffy, owner of Duffy MX Inc.
Vic Pershnowski, 533 Elton Street, Riverhead, working on the project as a consultant.
Doug Adams, Young Associates.
Thank you. So the planning board is in receipt of a preliminary site plan application seeking approval to redevelop an existing piece of property and create a commercial motocross track along with associated parking improvements, lighting, drainage, and landscaping. The subject property is located at 2822 River Road in Calverton. It's a 15-acre parcel of land located on the north side of River Road. It's located within the Industrial C zoning use district. Property is presently improved with a 2-story single-family residence, which was issued a CO in August of 2005. Access to the site is taken via a 740-foot-long, approximately 53-foot-wide flag from the north side of the road. Commercial sports and recreation facilities are permitted use within the Industrial C zoning district. Town code does define recreational facilities as a place designed to provide for recreational activities, including but not limited to pleasure boating and fishing, golf, tennis, and similar activities. The use of dirt bikes and ATVs on a motocross track has been interpreted to fall within the definition of recreational facilities, thus the proposed facility would be a permitted use. Surrounding area is a mix of residential uses, agricultural production, commercial solar energy facilities, and open space owned by New York State. The property is also located within the Pine Barrens Compatible Growth Area, as well as the New York State DEC's Wild, Scenic, and Recreational Rivers area. It is in the recreational portion. So regarding SECRA on this application, it is a type 1 action as it proposes to disturb land in excess of 10 acres. There were a number of just errors that I noted on the environmental assessment form. Page 1, the property owner information needs to be listed. Page 2, there's a number of governmental approvals that were not included, among them being a Riverhead Town Board Chapter 229 excavation exportation permit, Riverhead Fire Marshal review, Suffolk County Planning Commission, GML 239 referral, Central Pine Barrens Commission, Compatible Growth Area referral, Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and New York State DEC. They need SWIP approval, WSRR permit, as well as a mining permit. So one of the significant components to this application is it does propose to excavate and, well, it just says excavate. There is no details on the managed disposal or use of approximately 120,000 cubic yards of material from the site. Purpose of that is to purportedly dig the track down from to an elevation, I think, down to about 30 feet. The EAF does indicate on page 8 that the application will not produce any noise that exceeds ambient noise levels. I disagree with that. Putting a commercial motocross track will absolutely have the potential to create noise that exceeds the ambient noise levels. So there's just some inconsistencies that need to be addressed on the EAF before we can really move this application forward and classify it and send those materials out.
Would they be required to do a noise study?
That is one of the recommendations. I mean, again, you have something with the potential. There are several residential properties along River Road, but just the nature of the use of a motocross track would have the potential to exceed the noise area. So that is a recommendation. The EAF on page 4 states that the purpose of the excavation of the 120,000 cubic yards is to create noise mitigation for the racetrack. But again, I think that claim, with the potential to create significant noise impacts. That claim really should be substantiated, and if it will actually provide mitigation, or if there's the need for any additional mitigation on the site.
They have to go to Pine Barrens?
They will have to go to the Pine Barrens. So again, this is kind of a unique property. This property had historically been farmed. It had been cleared of any natural vegetation well prior to the creation of the Pine Barrens Act. But our code does require a calculation of disturbed areas and natural vegetation. The plan should demonstrate 65% clearing limits in the compatible growth area. I mean, there are, I think, close to about 290 parking stalls proposed. They do indicate about 90 stalls, give or take, for the member parking, and then there's about 200 parking stalls that are proposed in the front. There are bleachers proposed, so I mean, it would be expected, and I have had discussions with the applicant, there would be like races and events that would have more than your standard, everyday regular members of the track. So there is a significant parking area proposed as well.
How far is this from the off-ramp for the Long Island Expressway?
So it's off of River Road. I don't have.
It's a minute and a half.
It's probably about 3/4 to a mile.
Right.
That's
Oh,
it.
Drive.
Right. You done?
Yeah.
Okay. A couple of things I want to just bring to your attention. As some of you know, I was part of the proposal almost 20 years ago now that the town of Riverhead should have approved when we brought in the entertainment complex, which included a NASCAR track. At that time, it was the last track in America that was built. This is very, very small compared to that, in Las Vegas. And we had a whole report prepared for the town board, and the NASCAR track that we were going to build was going to be built similar technique to this. What they did in Las Vegas, they go down, it's called the noise mitigation. The noise goes horizontally. And we're not opposed to doing a noise thing. We'll prove all this to you. But by taking the track down, they want to take the track down here to create the slopes that they need for, and it also helps the noise mitigation, where we are going to direct a lot of the noise going straight up. We're also going to have a berm system, and he's got fabric, the new fabric that came on the market that right now was installed in back of Stop and Shop on Route 58 to help the noise mitigation between that commercial project and the residents in back there. It's in use right now in the town of Riverhead.
Is that
All the
something that would be approved through the,
Well, you would be approval on the site plan. You'd make it a condition.
no,
and
I'm
we'd have-
saying that material that you're able to use for the noise mitigation that is behind Stop and Shop, or ShopRite, whichever one you said.
Stop and Shop.
The DEC would approve that material?
I don't think it has anything to do with the DEC.
Has nothing to do with the
No,
DEC.
yeah, it gets strung on a
But
fence.
since it's in the Pine Barrens, that doesn't have anything,
Well, we're in compatible growth, and we're in the recreation area, and we will have to get approval from the Pine Barrens Commission. But since I was on the town board when we approved that project, I'm very familiar with the different categories, and we fought very hard back 20, 30 years ago that when I'm pretty confident we'll get approved on the Pine Barrens because this has been deemed a recreation use. The DEC wouldn't have the noise, mainly be the town board to make sure we can meet the noise. Also, all the vehicles, off-track vehicles, are going to be all muffled, and we're going to provide to the planning board all the specs on all the mufflers, and according to our code, of the hard numbers that are in our noise ordinance, we meet or beat all those standards for the time of 8 a.m. to whatever the nighttime. I think it's 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and this is strictly going to be run during the day. So we'll be in a position to provide all that data to you. But the other thing is too, we have to take the layer of sand off, create the track, create the slopes, and then there's going to be 50,000 cubic yards of other material brought back onto the property, which the town gets paid either way. They get $2 of the property. Also, the contractor that, and I've done these jobs before, the contractor that will be hired to take the sand off must fill out, we have to get a DEC permit, a Town of Riverhead excavation commit, and all of that information on where the material has to be disposed, has to be inspected, there's an inspector. All those things will be listed, are required as part of the permit from the building department and the DEC. So that'll all be answered later on. You just can't take sand off anywhere in this county now without getting all that information. And the carter, the excavator, has to have a license from the DEC. So this is not somebody that we know down the road that's going to come on here and truck it out. So all that will be the material that's coming back on the property and will be spread on the track, because this is going to be a pervious surface, not an impervious surface, is for dust mitigation. Okay, so we're going to take the lighter material that would cause a lot of dust, and then we'll create the track.
This is not a paved.
No, it's not a paved, no. And actually, in this particular zone, Mr. Bear, that the DEC, I don't think they even allow paved on this. We have to use pervious because we're in the scenic rivers, and they require, other than, the only things that would be paved here are the handicap parking stalls, which are required by the federal government. You have to pave those.
I would recommend that you take a look at a racetrack in New Jersey, in Wall Township. It's called Wall Stadium. That track is built down in the ground.
Yes.
If you're in the pits, you cannot hear cars
Right.
racing. You have to walk and look.
So what they did was in Vegas, because the track in Las Vegas was built right on the outside of the main strip and everything, and it were residential neighborhoods. So they had to create a system where they dug down the bowl, they created the track, and it's over a mile track. I think it's a 2-mile track. You would know better than me, Eddie. But then the bleachers and stuff were all soundproof, so it wasn't like bleachers where you could see the ground. It was all soundproof. And what they did was they directed the sound, and they met the standards of the state of Nevada and of Las Vegas for their, because they had noise ordinance there too. So, and the only reason I know that because I got a schooling on that, and we presented that report to the town board 20 years ago, hoping that we would get the job on the 600 acres that's still not sold, unfortunately.
Can I go back to your question about the screening or whatever you're going to be putting up? Whereabouts will you put that on the site?
Okay, on the south side of the track, all right, there's a 400-foot berm that we're going to actually move. We had originally had the parking lot with the berm with the track, okay? But in thinking about it, people are going to be starting the bikes up in the parking lot, the pit area. So we're going to put that berm between the access road to the property and the parking lot. So you're not going to be able to see the parking lot from River Road, okay? After the parking lot, we have a perimeter fence around the entire track,
Right.
okay? And then we're going to construct another fence, a 400-foot fence, either 6 or 8 feet high, okay? And it can be chain link or pipe. And then the material it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. It's a pound per square foot, okay? It comes in black, it comes in forest green, and you can print high-res images on it. It comes in a 30-foot long section, okay? And what it does, the berms act like a sound wall on the LIE. They just deflect the noise. And what happens, that noise will eventually, you'll hear it again.
Okay.
What these screens do is they absorb the vibration. So they eliminate the noise. And once it hits it, now you do have some residual comes over the top naturally. I'm not saying you're not going to hear this track. You're going to hear it, but you're not going to notice it. All right? And if it takes it, we can continue. Now, on the left-hand side of the property is all state land, and then the airport after that. On the right-hand side of the property is all the solar fields.
And the north.
Solar fields. And I don't think that's ever going to be an issue, okay? Because, again, the entire track, well, the track isn't like straight down 30 feet. it tapers, kind of like a mining pit, where we're not going to have any erosion problems or anything else. And I don't think, but we can, if that's an issue where they, the solar field, I'm going to take readings at the property line, no more than 65 decibels. If that's a problem, we just extend the fence. It's not that costly. It's, I think, about $1,000 for 30 feet. So the entire 400-foot section is probably going to cost us roughly $20,000 with the pipe fence.
In a few years, it'll probably be electric anyway, noise won't be an issue.
I'm going to bring that up, but I don't want to spin your wheels. I mean, you see the Teslas all over there cutting you off. They have a new bike that just came out. They had a bike years ago. In fact, 3 of my friends owned them, okay? And Harley Davidson was a partner in this track once they got in this bike, and once they got all the patents, they put the place out of business so they wouldn't have any competition. But Stark is the newest bike out, Long Island Kawasaki. We've actually been asked to test it at our place. I'm like, well, we can't yet, but they make no noise. They're going to take over pretty quickly because they're a lot more competitive than the gas bikes. And this is a race-driven sport. And once people start racing, they're actually going to have to create a separate class for these electric bikes because the gas bikes aren't going to keep up, So are they going to be popular? I don't know. Are they going to go the way of the cassette tape and too much? The gas bikes? I doubt it, because there's a lot of research and development behind the gas machines, and for these companies just to switch over, just like, car companies aren't going to just switch over to all electric. They have too much invested in the gas.
Also, this would offer local residents a place where they can ride their off-road bikes instead of on sod lots and open properties, which we have a special code now that had to be amended because a lot of property owners were complaining people illegally driving, because Riverhead, we're blessed with a lot of open space all over this town. The other thing is, Dan, he's been in the business for how long?
Well, I owned the track for 19 years.
Over in the middle by the airport. So why don't you just give him a little background? He's been operating a similar. The only reason he's coming to Riverhead, and I think is a great thing for Riverhead, but is because the property there got so valuable, it was sold for $1 gazillion, and he was.
We didn't own the property.
Right, he leased it, and of course the new owners didn't want to keep the track there because they want to build an industrial complex there or something.
Well, it's right next to the airport.
Right.
And once they had said that $4 billion project, the property value, quadrupled. It's like a square piece of industrial 2,
So the reason we're here today is I know there's a laundry list of things we have to apply to, but before we started applying to the laundry list, we just wanted to run it by the planning board first to get your initial reaction. And Greg is correct, we do have to, we're not sure yet if we have to go to the Suffolk County Health Department because we're going to be using portable lavatories. The house already has got a CO on it. That's going to be just for storage and for office operations. So
You haven't been to the health department yet?
Well, no. Well, we don't. This is not a subdivision, and we're not building anything. And the only thing that has a septic system on it is the house, and that's got a Suffolk County Health Department approval and a CO. And we're going to use portable laboratories. Right.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have you checked with the solar panel companies at all to see what type of impact you'd have on them, like with dirt, dust, and things like that before?
No, there's no dust. We have water trucks. It's very adamant about dust. Dust creates slippery, and it's also dangerous. You can't see what's in front of you.
Okay.
Right. So I happen.
Dust isn't a problem.
Okay. So I happen to know the attorney for that project very well. I have a few things going with him right now. We discussed this, and he checked with. He doesn't believe there'll be any impact, but we'll make sure that we answer that question for you officially. Okay. But the reason we're taking 120,000 cubic yards out, which the town gets $2 a yard, but we're also bringing back 50,000. Okay, because we need to make the pervious material that mitigates the dust and can create the track. So it's not like, we're doing a sand mine here. We're taking off, we need to create the track,
and we're above the water table, not like the water guys who got approval, and then unfortunately for them, it took them 20 years to resolve. They hit water prematurely, so.
Well, what we plan to do is actually, there is topsoil, probably a foot on most of the property, and back towards the back, it's probably like 3 or 4 feet. It's that beautiful clay mix that you see in all the vineyards, right? And we scrape that off. We get rid of that bank run, okay, and then we put in some loam, all right? The bank run is great, I mean, to ride in. There's one track in the United States that's a sand track. Nobody likes riding in sand. It destroys your bike. It's very grueling, technically wise, you know. I mean, from a maintenance standpoint, I love sand because there's no puddles. It takes 10 minutes to groom it. You know, we constantly groom these tracks. We fixed them. But again, we're not about sand. I wouldn't even build a sand track because the people don't like it. You know, it's just not good to ride. It's not fun.
You're gonna bring in material for the track itself.
I'll bring in loam,
Yeah.
right? It's rocky loam, and we'll put it right on top of the sand. We like the sand underneath because it's fantastic drainage for the rain. But then what we'll do is we'll put down loam, we'll put down, you know, non-indigenous material, the loam and clay maybe mix, and then we'll use that topsoil that we scraped to actually top coat all the lanes with a couple of feet of nice dirt. Yeah.
So if I could, what I would recommend, the board heard a lot of information just now. To Mr. Przanowski's point, I mean, the importation of 50,000 yards of material is not identified anywhere in any of the project documentation. Things like dust, traffic, how many truck trips it's going to take to export that information. You know, this is something that the board's going to need to take a hard look at. So I would recommend the applicant really sort of formalize like management plans. The property is not located within a water district extension. There is no public water, so like course maintenance, maintaining dust, all these sort of things the board's going to need to take a hard look at under SECRA. So
I thought we had public water there.
Yeah.
no, there's no public water. I mean, it's sort of in a no
Okay.
water zone. But I mean, you know, these are all important things. And again, the use, I fully agree. I mean, I grew up with friends who rode dirt bikes. They now have kids. Their friends ride dirt bikes. No problem with the use, but the board does need to take a hard look at just any potential impacts from this and identify any ways to mitigate them.
I have another question about the service road that you have, a service road that goes all the way around.
Right.
Okay, are you gonna somehow prevent the public from using that?
Oh, yeah. No, there's gates,
Is it
and
gonna
that's
be gates or
strictly, I hate to
something
say it,
like
but it's for an ambulance or you know, maintenance
understand
vehicles.
that, but-
No, they can't drive around it. It'll be gated off.
Yeah.
So we're here today, it really is a preliminary presentation. I agree with Greg. We have to resubmit a revised site plan with all the things, but I've been doing this a long time, including sitting on the town board. And before we go further, which we have a lot of things to do, I just wanted to get an initial, you know, if you said, get the hell out of here, we'd never ever go for it in a million years. Then so we know we have to, and I agree with Greg. We're going to have to revise the site plan. The 50,000 coming in was just an oversight because after we put the application in, we had a couple of meetings, and you know I'm not in this type of business, but I do know in this area the DEC pretty much requires, other than the handicap parking, has to be a pervious surface. I know that. Because I got the West Main Street supermarket, we have the same thing there. We had to go to the DEC, which I think you have the application. We made application for that. Right. So we had to go to the DEC, and the one thing they did allow us to do besides the handicap parking was because of the food trucks coming into the back of the complex, they had just allowed us to do one paving from the main road into the back, and then everything else has to be pervious except for the handicap parking.
And I would just like to add, the trucks coming and going for the material, the excavation of the 120,000 yards, okay, is estimated at 1,000 yards per day, okay, which is, I forget exactly how many trucks, but it's a truck every 20 minutes, 8 hours a day. As far as the material coming back on site, it's the same truck. Instead of coming back empty, at the end of the excavation, we're going to bring in the material to make the track. And it'll be the same trucks. They'll dump and then they'll get filled up, so we won't have additional trucks.
and it's the same guy, so.
Yeah, we'll have all that spelled out, and the routes, and how long is it gonna take us to do this?
The excavation is 6 months.
6 months. So this is it's only 6 months during construction. It's not like we're coming here with a site plan that I would say we're gonna have 200 trucks a day for the eternity of the town of Riverhead coming back and forth in this. So,
It's a good point.
and more than likely, it will be no more than 1,000 people at a time, similar to the racetrack that's operating now, the drag strip on the 7,000-foot runway, because as everybody knows or should know, that over 1,000 in Suffolk County, you have to get a mass assembly permit, which you have to go to the Suffolk County Police Department. It's over 1,000 and up. You have to get a different permit. I don't think we're going to do that. So, and if we're going to go over 1,000, we will apply to the necessary to get the.
I know that this is something that's been kicked around for 20, 30 years.
Right.
You know, there is interest for it out here, that's for sure.
Right.
Getting it built correctly is key. So.
Right, and the noise mitigation is, we have to meet the sound code, and we intend to. They're muffled. You guys are right, I guess. I know they're experimenting in, right now I'm in contact with a group that, if the current deal falls through, might want to put a bid on the 600 acres, but it's my understanding on some of the Le Mans cars in Europe now, they're switching over to electric vehicles in the real racing and, the senior racing, not NASCAR, but the Indy cars and these Le Mans cars races. It's starting to turn over around the world where they're going to electric, so it's possible this would happen here.
All right. Good. Good. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be back.
Looking forward to it.
Nice to meet you.
You as well.
Have a good day.
Have a great day.
too.
Next up is Pella Window and Door Showroom. Again with Greg. He's been pretty busy.
Is there a site plan?
Yeah, I did. I sent over the drawing, so we do have a site plan, elevations, and a landscaping plan. It should have been included in the packets.
I think I got everything but the site plan.
I think it's got.
You want to zoom in on that? It's pretty small, but that's the basic site plan.
Can we zoom in on this?
I have the LS and the lighting as well. See, thank you.
Thank you. If you could just introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, John Kniff, architect. I have an office in Stony Brook, New York. I'm representing Pella Corporation, developing their site plan and the rehabilitation of this very ugly building into something I think special. Pella Windows and Doors are excited to come to Riverhead, so we're anxious to hear what you have to say tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So this is a site plan application seeking approval to convert the use of an existing vacant commercial building, perform facade, landscaping, and related site improvements. The proposed action is a type 2 action as it involves reuse of an existing commercial structure where the proposed use is permitted under the applicable zoning. The proposed use of the building is a combination of a retail showroom, windows and doors showroom, and there are some offices for consultations for contractors and customers to come in and design some windows. The property is located at 1241 Old Country Road in Riverhead within the Business Center zoning district. The property is improved with a 6,600 square foot commercial building, which was previously used as, it was previously World Tile. There was a motor vehicle sales and repair shop a number of years ago. The most recent use was like a Christmas Village display. That was the last use of the property. It's worthy noting, and it's significant in the review of this application, that the eastern 25 feet of this property is encumbered with a right-of-way known as Dolores Avenue. The property shares its eastern property boundary with the commercial laundromat known as Laundry Palace.
The south and western property boundaries are vacant. Those properties are either a mix of residence A40 or business center zoning district. I do need to note that this property, when I was reviewing this application and trying to sort of make sense of it, so getting into some prior approvals, and I don't want to dwell on them, but in the early 2000s, when the town board reviewed an amended site plan for the World Tile site, the board approved a resolution number 1040, dated October 1st, 2002. That site plan included 10 parking stalls adjacent to the building, as well as a bank of 12 parking stalls located on the east side of Dolores Avenue. Figure 2 on my staff report does show, I just took a picture of that approved site plan. So it's important to note that those bank of parking stalls on the eastern side of Dolores Avenue. Prior to the approval of World Tile, the town board in November 2001 approved a site plan for Laundry Palace on the adjacent property to the east. Now that site plan included a bank of 17 parking stalls also located on the east side of that property. So essentially, it sort of double dipped in the parking, where the parking for the approved Laundry Palace site plan was then approved for the World Tile site plan. Now, it is worthy to note that at the time these plans were approved, the town did not require title reports on properties. So based on legal descriptions, I can't really explain exactly the genesis of what happened. Unfortunately, there was some history. Dick Ehlers, Bob Kazakevich, Laura Calamita, and Brad Hammond, who were no longer all with the town. They had meetings with the property owner on this to try to rectify the situation. I'm hoping that this site plan, and I've spoken with John about parking on the site, we're hoping that we can sort of rectify the situations to the benefit of everybody, because a vacancy on 58 really does nobody any good.
That's right.
Again, Pella Windows and Doors, it's not expected to be like a building materials, like a Home Depot, a place where you're going to have contractors coming in to pick up like hardware, that sort of stuff. It's really more of a consultation business, so it's not expected to have on-site sales, contractors coming in to pick up material, etc. I do note that on the site plan, John provided parking calculations, which I think really were over-parked on the site. The site was essentially parked for the entire 6,000 square foot, for the entire building at a rate of 1 per 250 square feet. Now, the building, I'll call it an L shape for lack of a better term. The rear portion of the building is an existing sort of landlord storage space. That was parked at 1 space per 250 square feet. I would definitely recommend that based on the use that be parked at storage and warehouse, which is 1 per 1,000 square feet. So when we get to the amalgam of uses, including the showroom, which I recommend being parked at 1 space per 300 square feet, we arrive at a total parking, I believe, of either 15 or 16 stalls. The current site plan just proposes the parking in front of the existing parking in front of the building. I did speak with John previously, and he's got a sketch of. It's all right, I can provide that to the board, but he did provide it where there's going to be parallel parking stalls behind the building, and that would be reserved for employee parking. The area in.
Gate is that where they have
Yes.
that gate?
Yeah, so
We're
in the
gonna
back.
remove that gate, and then we're gonna put 5 cars back there.
Yeah, so the figure in figure 5 of my staff report, that green gate, that's what's identified as the gate on the site plan. So that area is going to be removed. I do recommend that that be surfaced with a pervious pavement or some type of pervious surface, so as to not require a variance for impervious coverage. There really is, you've only got the impervious up in the front. There's a small landscaped area and a really narrow strip behind the building. So providing a pervious surface for employee parking to the rear of the building would accomplish the required parking on the site, and would not kick it over into a need for a variance.
How many employees are you expecting to be there?
It's two to three. Their Roslyn office is 2 to 3. It's a light sales group. Again, there's no distribution. There's no deliveries. So not even a hardware.
It's basically a showroom.
It's a showroom to display. Pella wants to make an effort to move their marketplace a little bit further out east on Long Island. They're primarily Nassau County and then beyond west in Connecticut and sort of more of the northeast. So they're moving into our region. They feel there's a good marketplace.
Tenant, or
Pick
do
River.
they own the building?
I'm sorry?
Is Pella a tenant, or do they own?
They will be a tenant. Yes. I do have, if the parking aspect for the rear is a concern, I do have that image on my phone. I can slip it underneath your little guy.
Yeah, I can provide it
Or
to the
Greg can
board. I mean,
provide it.
that's
It's pretty-
fine again.
fairly
We
straightforward.
also get the site plan?
Yes.
Have it.
Yeah, I mean, you will, I apologize it didn't make it into your packet. I know Ed's got one, but I will get it out to everybody. And again, the plan that gets out to everybody will show the parking improvements. It will show the details of the pavement in the back.
What has to happen with Dolores Avenue?
So Dolores Avenue sort of has a long history. I spoke with Dawn Thomas about this recently, and the issue of Dolores Avenue came up a number of years ago when there was snow plowing that happened, and they essentially blocked Dolores Avenue. That is how the residents back there get to and from their properties. Now, I mean, Dolores Avenue does go south, and it does actually come out on Osborne.
I remember when it used to be a dirt road.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a very interesting.
Is it?
It's sort of like tucked away, like you'd almost have no idea that it's there.
Yeah.
But it is a dirt road as it goes south coming onto Osborne. So one of the recommendations, I did refer the plan to the fire marshal's office. They had no comments. It's a reuse of an existing one-story commercial building, but they did recommend providing that Dolores Avenue with no parking striping. So essentially just stripe the 50-foot width. That does serve not just the residents, but that does serve emergency access. So if ever there was a fire or an emergency, they do need to be able to get a truck back there. So that was the reason to require that to be striped as no parking. They are proposing facade improvements. They're going to install a new storefront and windows, reside the building with composite shiplap, install a new handicap accessible ramp, and patch all the damaged EFIS, install new signage and lighting. Plantings. They will install 3 new sunset maple trees along 58 in that landscaped area. I do recommend during a site visit, the existing parking lot's in pretty poor condition. The asphalt's cracking, spalling, it's coming up in places. So I do recommend that the pavement should be repaired and resurfaced with a 1.5-inch thick asphalt top course. That's in accordance with the town code's requirements for off-site parking. If necessary, just lift the existing drainage grates to match the new elevation of the asphalt. That'll really improve just the street appeal of this property, fix a vacant building.
Yeah.
Somewhat fix the Dolores Avenue access issue. All in all, just supportive of this application. It will allow us, it gives us a mechanism to require improvements and just really spruce this property up and get it to use again.
On your, on the drawing that I see here, it looks like there's cars all parked on the other side of Dolores Avenue.
So on the east side of Dolores Avenue, there are some like concrete islands and some trees in that. On the east side of it, that's the parking for the Laundry Palace property.
Okay.
So Dolores Avenue will be striped to 50-foot wide, no parking. Just on the east side of Dolores Avenue is where you've got that row of trees. And
Is it a paved road?
It's paved up until the limits of this property. Once you go beyond that, it's.
Oh, just.
Yeah, further south, it stops being paved.
It shows up on our GIS as a 189 road. Yeah.
Technically.
That road was built, there was all barracks back a long time ago.
Oh,
Barrack housing.
So I do have the plans. The application is going to be on for the ARB at their meeting, I believe, on the 25th. So they'll review the elevations, come back with any recommendations. Because it is on County Route 58, they're not proposing any new structures, but I did refer to the DPW. DPW may come back with some comments just about sidewalks or, accessibility accessibility items. But I hope to get those comments back before the next the first board meeting in November. I would like to, at that point, have an approval resolution off the board pending any ARB comments. Again, just supportive of this application, breathe some new life into a.
Absolutely. Good luck.
May I inquire?
Sure.
The DPW comments that might be forthcoming, would a planning board approval and/or approvals for permits be inhibited by the permitting to the county? Or can a CO be contingent upon approval of any of the improvements that are required by the county?
I believe we can beat the county recommendations by a supermajority.
Not DPW.
No?
Not DPW, you come for the planning commission.
Oh, planning commission, I'm sorry.
So would all permits be held up until that stuff is rectified? If
I mean,
anything comes up?
I don't think that's going to be a big deal.
Interior renovations can happen, siding can happen. I just want to make, if the DPW is going to come back about aprons or anything like that, that should be addressed prior to occupancy. Prior to occupancy.
They were already eating into the lease by 3 months at $12,000 a month. And,
Wow.
yeah, it's brutal. So, whatever we need to do to make a sale here, quote unquote, I really want to get this building up and running. It's
We'd like to
actually a
see
very
you
beautiful
in
design.
there.
It's really sharp
Yeah.
looking. I promise the windows that are introduced to the building will be top notch. They are all coming from Pella, actually.
Well, you're working with Top Notch, so
Yeah.
you're in good hands.
All good.
All
Okay.
right.
Alrighty.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for hearing
Good
this.
luck.
See you in November. Thank you very much.
And our last discussion item is 1309 OCR Automobile Dealership.
All right. Three, you know what, slide over one.
All right. Thank you. Just names for the record?
Yeah, Craig Ugrin,
Spell your last name also.
Ugrin.
Ray DeBias, I'm president of LK McLean Associates in Brookhaven.
Christopher Kent from Farrell Fritz for the applicant.
Amanda LaRosa from Stonefield Engineering for the applicant.
Keith Buda. Buda.
Thank you. So this is just a discussion, it's an update on the status of the secret review for 1309 OCR Automobile Dealership. There's an application to construct approximately a new 18,000 square feet. It's actually 18,023, so I will correct that on the resolution. New automobile dealership located at 1309 Old Country Road. As the board's familiar, this property fronts on both Old Country Road and Osborne Avenue. It's presently improved with 3 vacant, sort of dilapidated old buildings. They are going to demolish all the buildings on site, construct a new automobile dealership, access on both 58 and Osborne. We did have the applicant prepare a traffic impact study. Again, there was just some questions. We wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be any significant impacts to the traffic patterns on 58, maybe something that would require like a left turn arrow to be installed. The applicant did provide a TIS for the project. Mr. DeBias reviewed it on the planning board's behalf. He provided comments. Stonefield responded to those comments, and Mr. DeBias has had a chance to review those comments. The long and short of it is that there are going to be no significant improvements needed on 58. There was one comment just regarding the capacity of parking stalls on site, the need to demonstrate, because they are seeking a variance for not meeting the required number of parking stalls on site. Essentially, the vehicle storage, for the new vehicles, those parking stalls are essentially taken out of calculation because they're not really relevant to the daily traffic on the site from both employees and customers to the site. So I did forward Mr. DeBias's comments to the ZBA because that's really relevant to the ZBA's review of the requested parking variance. But the important thing was that there's going to be no significant impacts on the 58 corridor that would require any sort of signal improvements or anything like that. So I do have a resolution before the board to finish SECRA, which would allow the ZBA to make a determination. Again, we do have Mr. DeBias here if the board has any questions on his review.
There were some issues about getting the sewer pipe over to the pizza place. Has that been discussed at all?
Yes, we've been meeting with both the engineers, Young and Young, who represent Rocco's Pizzeria owner. We are trying to accommodate their need to cross over our property. So far, we haven't finalized any plans, but we are still working with them.
The issue of, within some of the comments that were going back and forth between the traffic engineers was relating to the location of the cross access. Rocco's Pizza Place right now is sort of an underparked site. Them connecting to the sewer, they would be hard pressed to really be able to expand their business. But that also ties into the proposed future cross access. One of Mr. Tobias's comments was on the location of the cross access. Right now, it's proposed right adjacent to the entrance on 58 to the site, which, as Ray pointed out, could have the potential for some conflict of movement, could create a safety situation. So the proposed location that's shown on the plans right now is not set in stone. That location could be moved further south away from the access on 58. Now, it is noted that along the eastern side of that site plan, it is a one-way traffic, so it's only southbound. So the purpose of that cross-access would really be to allow someone from Rocco's to exit the parking lot, go down to Osborne if they want to hit that. Correct. So they could cross-access to get out to Osborne to access the light on 58. Again, it's really I don't see it being super important now, especially being Rocco's not wanting to lose parking stalls to facilitate that cross-access. But in the future, in the event that the Rocco site is redeveloped, it would be important for the board to capture that future cross-access at some point and then incorporate that into a potential future design.
Agreed.
Yeah, we're willing to take that up as part of the site plan review process. We're here for a secret.
Right.
But we know we still have a public hearing, and site plan review is going to continue.
Okay.
What dealership is coming?
What dealership is coming?
At the moment, one from across the street.
This dealership will not be really not a new dealership to Riverhead. It'll be a relocation of one of the existing dealerships at the Eagle Auto Mall. And so it hasn't been determined yet which manufacturer will be moving across the street.
Good. Everybody good?
Good.
Okay. Thank you for coming out today.
Stonefield comments. What about your comments?
Did you have questions?
On the, I believe this is what.
So Ray's comments are the ones highlighted in red.
Right.
Essentially, Stonefield had their comments, and Ray's responses are in red.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Very well.
All right. Is there anyone that would like to come up from the public to comment on the resolutions?
Sorry, not on the resolution.
Okay.
If I could, just before the board takes up the resolutions, Resolution 2023-090. I do apologize, it was not clearly labeled on the agenda. That is the 1309 OCR resolution. I would just ask that the board amend it wherever it says 18,000 square foot automobile dealership, correct that to 18,023 square feet. I want to make sure we're accurate.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the resolutions.
I'll move resolution number 88, the Lepori Residence, Chapter 219, the resolution approving a Chapter 19 coastal erosion hazard permit. So moved.
Second.
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Hogan?
Yeah.
Nysavsky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
I'll move a resolution number 89, which is grants approval for the county crossing, slide gate, and fencing.
Second.
Vote, please. Bear?
Yes.
Hogan?
Yes.
Nysavsky?
Aye.
Woski, yes.
I move resolution number 90, resolution to assume lead agency and issue a negative declaration pursuant of SECRA for the site plan application seeking to redevelop an existing commercial site with a new 18,023 square foot auto dealership.
Second motion?
Vote, please.
Yes.
Bear? Sorry.
Yes.
Hogan?
Yes.
Dennisesky? Woski, yes. All right, do we have any public comments on all matters? Come on up.
How you doing? My name is Craig Dahlgren, resident of River Road, Calverton. Dahlgren. Excuse me if I bounce around a little bit. I just saw an item pop up on the agenda this afternoon that has meaning to me, so I haven't really had time to create a very coherent letter yet, but I'll probably submit something to you via mail. What my comments are about is item number 5, the motocross track. Little history. First off, let me start by saying I'm not an anti-dirt bike ATV guy. I rode dirt bikes when I was a kid. I had an Arctic Cat ATV up until very recently. So, you know, it's nothing against the use. The main concern here is really going to be the noise. But little history on the property that they're looking to use. When I moved to the area about 11 and a half years ago, it was owned by a gentleman who, him and his wife purchased it to turn it into a vineyard. That was their lifelong dream. She passed away before it was complete. He completed it, ran it a few years, then passed away. New owner came in, had it for a short period of time, and also passed away. And then it was purchased in 2001 by a gentleman who also happens to own an excavation business called J&R Earthworks, which is, I believe, out of Ronkonkoma, Holtzville area. He very quickly went to work with heavy equipment back there. And in October of 2001, I believe the town of Riverhead issued a stop work order for sand mining. I don't know if it was officially called sand mining or not, but it was up to 80 dump trucks a day being pulled out of the site with 0 permits, 0 information put forth before the town. Then I didn't see anything, but it's my understanding that maybe they submitted something to the town about putting a warehouse on there and that the foundation of the warehouse needed some tremendous amount of excavation, exporting a ton of material again, and that was something that kind of got shot down. I believe I had some conversations with somebody about that.
So that is, Mr. Dahlgren is correct. There was an application that was submitted to the town. It was an application. It never made it to the planning board. It was deemed incomplete. We sent them a laundry list of things to identify. It did involve the construction of a warehouse, and it did also involve excavation of material. Again, they withdrew that application, so that's the reason it never came before the board, because it was deemed incomplete. But that is accurate.
So now we're looking at another proposal to remove a tremendous amount of sand from the site, which if it helps sound mitigation, I mean, right, you know, that's okay, but just kind of putting that out there. So my home is approximately 650 feet from this property. There's little to no vegetation, natural vegetation, between my home and this property. I have a few trees out back, and then it's farmland, small piece of farmland, and then this property. I spoke to, so the applicant used to own 10th Street Motocross in Ronkonkoma. They had put up a Facebook post back in May, I believe, about this new racetrack that they were going to be creating on this property. So I reached out and spoke to him directly with some concerns, you know, explained to him who I was and, you know, that I'm there and whatnot. And he relayed to me that their hours of operation were going to be 10 a.m. to dark 7 days a week. He also relayed to me that it was supposedly at that time it was for members. He told me like 10 people a day would be riding back there. You just heard up to 1,300 something parking spots. This is a 15-acre property. Most of it's a track. I don't know where they're going to cram people like that in and facilities and stuff, but that's and lighting. I mean, if he also stated that it was going to be a daytime activity. What are they lighting the site for if it's supposed to be used during the daytime? The biggest concern with this is the noise. That's what it is. I think, you know, everybody here, you know, owns homes. You like to go out into your backyard in the evening. You like to have a barbecue. You like to throw a kid's birthday party. To do that and try to talk over dirt bikes and ATVs running around, it doesn't work. I appreciate their attempts so far at sound mitigation, but as he said himself, he said, you're gonna hear it. There's no way. I've been around dirt bikes. I've been around cars and all of this stuff. You can muffle it a little bit. You're not making it go away. And the fact that you're not going to notice it, I mean, maybe if you moved into an area and it was there or something, but this is new to us. We've all lived there. These houses are all there pre this industrial stuff and the zoning that was there. It's going to affect our lives on a daily basis. A quality of life thing, probably a property value thing. I can't think of anybody I've ever met that would want to live next to, a racetrack like that, right? A couple other things. 2775 River Road, which is, I think, about 800 feet from this location. That's a daycare, licensed by the state, legitimate business for 20 years. 2788, which is also about the same distance, is a horse training area where they train kids to ride horses. The noise from this, they can't be here today, so I'm kind of speaking for them. But the noise concerns for this, I think, are real, right? You have kids that are going to be napping and stuff with the daycare situation. If, somebody doesn't follow the rules and puts a loud exhaust on their dirt bike, which certainly happens and startles a horse, it could be a safety concern. Peconic River Herb Farm, which is slightly further, but still very close to the site. They host weddings, usually like a Friday or a Saturday afternoon, they'll have a wedding. So I don't know, again, I don't even know that they're aware of this yet. This is something that I'm going to start reaching out to the community for, but that could be a direct effect on their business as well, right? I would assume getting married and having a reception, having to listen to dirt bikes probably isn't the most lovely thing. The e-bike, electric bike thing, that's great. If this was all electric bikes, I'd probably have 3 comments here today instead of what I'm going with. But we're not there yet, and we don't know when it's going to become electric. I mean, every time you turn on the news now, a Tesla's on fire or an apartment building's on fire because of an e-bike in the city or something. So we don't know if it's going to be 5 years from now or if it's going to be 20 years from now when it dominates the industry. I'm really worried about there being no time with the applicant schedule with there being no time to enjoy what I kind of bought into, which was a quiet kind of environment and part of the town over there. I have a 7-year-old daughter. We're always outside playing, and I can't imagine having to talk over dirt bikes to kick a ball around the backyard or something to that effect. Again, sorry about that. I'm bouncing around here a little bit. I know we're not there yet, but I think there's probably better places in town for this. Again, we're not there yet, but you have the racing in EPCAL. I don't think you have major complaints with that yet, right? I can hear it sometimes, but whatever, it's out there in the distance. Moving forward in the future, maybe something can happen in that area. I think that would be a perfect use for it. It's furthest from any residential areas there. I can't see anybody complaining about it over there. And the amount of people that they're looking to use would probably support that better. Also, I know there's been discussions about industrial moratorium potentially happening. Something if we're flirting with that, if we think that's going to happen. This is a pretty intense use for the property, that amount of people that they're proposing on it. I think I've kind of hit there's an existing track off of Edwards Avenue that's 1.25 miles from my home, just to give you an idea. And that track is low, right? That one's, if you drive by, you see it's down in the pit, probably quite a bit what they were describing. And I can hear that track from my house, right? It's not a nuisance. I don't complain about it. It's out there. You probably don't hear every bike, but the loud ones you do. But at 1.25 miles, if I can hear that, what's it going to be like at 650 feet? I'm relying on 1/8 of an inch cloth to absorb the sound of however many hundreds, apparently now, dirt bikes and ATVs I was told 10. I was told 10 a day. It might be 10 members there. And now it's setting up like it's a special event arena. It's does not seem, what's being proposed does not seem reasonable for the area. I don't think I'm overstepping my boundaries and being unreasonable with my concerns. This isn't, my neighbor did something to their house that I don't like. This is a very real thing that's gonna, you can't hide noise. You can't look the other way from noise. It's there all the time. Right. It's probably the equivalent of somebody standing outside your home and running a leaf blower and lawnmower all day long into the night. It's frankly, I don't feel it's fair to the residents that are there.
Okay.
Thank
you for your concerns today. think?
Daphne Turchin, Greater Calverton Civic Association President. Welcome to your new digs.
Nice.
Taking it in is quite a bit of stuff here. You mentioned cameras, there are like 5 of them. So I spoke with Craig earlier today, and he brought the concerns that he just spoke to you on. And two things did come up in my mind. Number one was the industrial moratorium on zones A, B, and C, and that the town board is going to be, they just finished the public hearing on it on Tuesday, and then they'll be voting on it. The earliest would be after the election in November. So we're hoping that that does come true, and that the industrial uses are going to be very closely looked at and policies made from that. So this particular use is an intense use. It's not the one that we've been focusing on in our civic and in the neighborhoods, which was mostly mega warehouses, but it is an industrial use that of an intense variety. You know, as a member of Riverhead and as a resident, I'd like to see small businesses be able to make a good go in Riverhead, and that's what this gentleman does seem to be. But I think that the intensity and the location are not a good match. And the larger concern also would be the water contamination issue from Grumman and the lay of the land there and how the water table runs. There would have to be a very close scrutiny on that, and I'd ask you to keep in mind the types of contamination and also the traffic that would come to the homes that are there. It's a really cool area of River Road. I'm sure you all have driven by there and driven in there. Once you leave Edwards Avenue at the railroad station, you know, you just 4 feet into there, all of a sudden you go back to old-time Riverhead. And it's gorgeous, and the people who live there really treasure it. So please do keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Make a motion to move the planning board minutes from September 21st, 2023. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll move October 5th minutes.
Second the motion?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No other business, no correspondences. Our next meeting date is Thursday, November 2nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. And all of our meetings moving forward will be here in this meeting room. So thank you for coming today and enjoy the rest of your day.